Whenever you're ready. No talking, please.
Hi, today I'll be presenting human impacts towards our environment. As Gandhi once said, be the change you want to see in the world. My question today is, how much do people really impact their environment? Today I will focus on social and environmental problems caused by and towards these solutions, starting with social. Activism occurs through one person or a small group of individuals who work towards a bigger change in their environment. These occur through movements, activism, and revolutionary movements, and there are successful and unsuccessful examples of these. Starting with the successful example, the American Revolution. This occurred when a small group of American patriots rebelled against the British overlords, successfully creating an independent colony. Along with this, another successful example would be the Civil Rights Movement, in which people such as Martin Luther King, who are pictured in my previous slide, worked to help give people such as minorities in their communities who did not have a voice, a new voice. They were ultimately successful, as in the 1960s, Lyndon B. Johnson passed a group of acts and rights for these people. As for an unsuccessful example, the Boxer Rebellion. This occurred through British imperial rule that was imposed on Chinese politics. The Harmonious Fists were a political group in that area that did not necessarily agree. However, as much as they tried to rebel, they were ultimately put down, and sadly, they were not successful during their time. However, it can be said that people learned from their mistakes later on, as later rebellion movements occurred and successfully created a new independent nation for China, as they are no longer ruled over by British nations. Along with this, there are also other forms of social issues, such as physical and non-physical conflict. This can cause social issues such as depression and other traumatic stress disorders due to the fact that one person or a small group of individuals hurts another person both mentally and physically. There are also environmental impacts caused by these issues. One of the largest ones in our society today is global warming. This occurs through human movement as a whole. As you can see by this map, the main areas that are concerns for global warming, who produce this, are areas in which there are high population rates and are highly industrial areas. Along with this, deforestation is another measure in which people cause a lot of harm towards their environment due to the fact of human movement as a whole, but specifically due to farming and overuse of certain land for soil. This in turn can cause defertilization that takes generations to recover, and sometimes doesn't even happen. Along with this, there's overpopulation issues that affect economic scientists such as Margaret Montgomery have stated how small cities are less likely to have items such as adequate drinking water and necessities such as that due to the fact that overpopulation in certain areas such as larger cities cause a resource clash and divide. But now that we have focused on these issues, we must determine viable solutions. As for how to solve social issues, we must focus on individuals and communities. Author and speaker coach Tony Fokker states, if we truly want to help change our environment, we must focus on the individuals. This being said, there are current laws in place that try to help these individuals, but sadly these aren't always effective. If we truly want to help change these people, we must provide classes for communities rather than our society as a whole. If we help provide coping classes and workshops in these communities, we might be able to help more people at once, along with helping people individually, thereby helping them be more hands-on. Another form of solution for the environmental issues would be to focus on viable change. This being said, a lot of nations currently try to focus on countermeasures for problems caused by global warming, but we must stop global warming in its tracks to help further prevent more issues. This being said, we can help the increased suburbanization, which may help overpopulation in certain areas. This in turn can help over pollution and that resource divide previously mentioned. Along with this, if we provide tax before you trash laws like those in Japan and other European nations, we might be able to help more people, as tax before you trash laws provide an incentive for these people to cause less waste towards their environment due to the fact that these laws make people measure out their trash per month and are taxed accordingly per weight measurement. Along with this, the implications of these measurements would be that we might see an overall more happy society if we were able to help people cope and help prevent these problems beforehand. And due to suburbanization, there might be more people moving to the suburbs. As for the limitations of these solutions, the limitations could be, for instance, that social measures are not always effective as everyone has a different way to cope. This being said, there are people in need in our society and we must provide towards those people. Along with this, the increase of people to suburban populations can cause an economic shift as more people are moving to an area which was previously unseen. As for the pros of these solutions, there'd be an overall decrease of depression in a society if we are able to provide to these people and help prevent solutions beforehand. Along with this, there'd be less overcrowding in certain urban areas if we are able to help provide an incentive for suburbanization. Along with this, we might help grow certain scientific fields due to the fact that we are trying to focus on solutions for our environment and global pollution and global warming as a whole. If we are able to provide more research towards this, we might be able to help our environment more and have more viable research towards that matter. As for the cons of these solutions, as stated earlier, there is no way to help everyone, as many people have different ways to cope. However, there are people in need, and we must provide to those people to help prevent further issues. Along with this, the increase of people to suburban populations can also cause not only an economic shift, but also a shift of people would mean more people in that area. This being said, there might be overcrowding in certain areas in these suburbs as they would not have enough area to provide for these people. And as it stands, there is no way to help reverse the irreversible damage that we've already done towards our environment. However, if we truly want to be the change we want to see in the world, we must provide solutions for these people. Thank you.
Okay, Alexis. Question number 1. What information did you need before you began your research, and how did that information shape your research?
Most of the information that I needed was mostly research of how impactful people actually were towards their environment. Specifically, I needed actual examples of how much global warming caused issues, along with the fact of bullying measures and mostly social issues caused by conflict.
Okay. And question number 2. Explain the level of certainty you have about your conclusion, solution, or recommendation.
I'm fairly certain that the solutions would work if they were implemented correctly. It really depends on our society and how we treat it, and it really depends on how we actually implement these situations, because certain people may not agree, certain states may have religious policies or other ethics standards that they don't agree with. This being said, we must try to implement a solution, and these are just some examples that might help.
Thank you.